I'm going to tell you about an acquaintance, a man I led to Christ. I'd love to share you about a lot of different testimonies about people that really didn't understand their need for Christ. And my conversation, I call this guy the righteous architect. And it was this man, he heard about me, and he was kind of impressed with me, he liked me, and he says, I want to invite you to my house. And this was in Acapulco. I started a church a number of decades ago on the outskirts of Acapulco, and he had a house on the cliffs of Acapulco. This is in the early 80s, and a beautiful, gorgeous house. But he was an architect, he designed that, and he had all these tremendous ideas, and very, very gifted man, very wealthy. And he says, I'm invited up to you because I like you. And he says, I like how you talk. He said, but, you know, I think I'm on my way to heaven. I actually think God has no reason not to let me go into heaven because I'm a good person. I'm a good person. And he says, me, I go from my house to my job, from my job to my house. I'm a good man. And I said, well, I didn't tell him I don't believe him. That's a lie. You know, I wasn't going to tell him that. And I said, okay, you're a good person. You actually think God owes you heaven. I said, so you're saying you never sin? He says, nobody's perfect. I said, so what do you do about that sin? He says, but I'm a good person, you know. I try to do good works. I said, so you think that sin that you've committed is just going to go, it's going to evaporate or something. You've committed that sin. How many times have you sinned? He says, well, nobody's perfect, but I do good works to try to kind of balance things out. I said, if you were drinking a Coke and you come out and you got something in your mouth, it's a fly, ugh. Do you have a desire to continue? Take a cockroach, you got a cockroach out of your Coke? No. No. None of it's good. Well, unless you're a missionary. They say the new missionary, he finds a fly in his coffee, he throws the coffee out, gets a new cup, makes a new cup of coffee, washes the coffee pot and everything like that. After a missionary's been on the field for a while, you know, he just throws the cup out and just rinses out and gets a new one. After he's been on for a while longer, you know, he takes the fly out and flicks it off and he keeps on drinking, you know. A veteran sees the fly and goes, meat! But I'm going to have to conclude. But this guy, he says, okay. He says, I'm a good guy. I said, okay, you think you're so good that God owes you heaven. And you think sin is just nothing. I said, do you realize that Adam and Eve were kicked out of the Garden of Eden for one sin? One sin. They lost it all for one sin. And we got all this mess that we have today because of one sin. I said, okay, the Bible says that the righteous man sins 7 times in a day and he gets back up. But I'm going to say you're more righteous than the righteous man. Let's say you only sin 3 times. That makes you more than twice as righteous than the righteous man, okay? Right, you only sin 3 times a day. Maybe some errant thought, some word that you shouldn't have said, or some deed that just kind of got away from you, you know. I mean, you're a good guy, right? He says, well, see, yeah. I said, could you concede that? He says, yeah, well, probably so. And I said, well, the only problem with that is that there are 7 days in a week. 3 times 7, that's 21. There are 52 weeks in a year. That's 1,050. And you say you're about 42 years old? You've got more than 50,000 sins. You are a pile of rubbish. I said, God can smell your sin from light years away. And I'm sure some days are worse than others. What are you going to do? How are you going to justify yourself before God? And I said, I'm going to change you. I'm going to give you another chance. Let's say, now you're God. You're the one that's going to tell me what's right or wrong. I said, do you uphold your own standard of righteousness, your own concept? Because obviously what you think is righteous is vastly different than what God says is righteous. But you've established your own form of righteousness, So you think you're more righteous than God. So now, let's say you are God. I said, do you fulfill your own standard of righteousness? He says, nobody's perfect. No, you tell me what perfect is. It's on you now. You are the standard of righteousness. You are the standard of perfection. Your own concept. You've already excluded God's by saying God owes you heaven. Do you fulfill your own concept of that which is right and that which is wrong? And I said, and if you lie to me, saying you do, you've already failed. And he thought, and he said to me, no, I do not. I said, so if you were a righteous God, you'd have to exclude yourself. Because a righteous God can in no way condone wickedness. He can no way condone criminality. You'd have to condemn yourself. But yet you think that the God that is thrice holy, who can in no way tolerate sin, would accept you because you think you're a good person. I led a professor in Madrid years ago. It was in '92. This guy had 13 bachelor's degrees. He had 8 masters. He had 3 doctorates. Brilliant man. This was during the Olympics. We had come on a flight together. His wife was from Spain. We'd come on a flight together, and we were supposed to go to Madrid. And there was the Expo in Seville. There was the Olympics in Barcelona. And we were about to land in Madrid. They said, we can't. We have some major emergency there. You can't land here. You have to go to Barcelona. So we go to Barcelona, and Barcelona, the dream team was there, the original dream team, the real Michael Jordan, all those guys, and they were there. And so Barcelona was like that. And then the plane had a mechanical failure. It couldn't take off again. So we were stuck in the airport like 14 hours, something like that. And there was no place there. There was no food in the restaurants. There was no place that the airlines could accommodate us because everything was just packed. Everything was saturated. And Spain was like a new country. It had just come out of dictatorship. They were just building everything. So it had just come from like Romania after dictatorship. It was still just opening up from becoming part of Europe and not a third world country. And so like, yeah, we were stuck there, and a lot of people were fighting with the airlines and stuff like that. Well, what are you gonna do? I'm chill. And one time I had to go get some water for the family, and I came back, and there was this big crowd. And I thought, what's going on here? I said, we think somebody died. You know, people, is he dead yet? No, told me, no, still no. And so like, I go there, and my wife is in the middle of the crowd, and she's praying over this guy. And so I get down with her, and I start praying. I don't know why we're praying. I'm praying on the Lord, yeah, whatever she said, you know. And so my wife, she's a go-getter. She's a power tool. And so like she's praying for this guy, and being that I'm closest to him, when he wakes up, wakes up like this, and then he grabs me. He says, don't leave me. He was terrified. Well, I didn't know. No, I'm with you, sir. And he sat up, and color started coming back to his face, and he was just absolutely pavorous. And so we got him up, and finally, a couple hours later, they let us go off, and he wouldn't let go of me for anything. And he was very wealthy. You know, it was the day of the 747, there was that hump in the top, and he was sitting up in the hump, you know, and that's executive class or whatever that is. And he says, when he was going to get on the plane, he says, he's with me. And I said, yes, I'm with him, you know. Now, I travel over the world several times over, probably yearly, and I'm always on planes, but I'll fly cargo class, you know. I'm there with the dogs and cats and stuff. I just need to get there, you know. I don't have all these luxuries. And so, so I get to go up there and hobnob with the snobs, you know, feeling impotent, you know. Well, no, important. So I'm up there talking, and I'm up there sitting with him. When we got accommodated, he says, I'm so glad you're with me. He says, but tell me, what were you doing when I woke up? Well, actually, I'll tell you what happened to him when he was unconscious. And I said, I was praying for you. He says, oh, what a kind gesture. He says, that's a very kind, I appreciate that, but I don't believe in God. I said, my goodness, I thought you were more intelligent than that.
Introducing the new Xulon Press book, Is Our Gospel the Gospel? By Dr. Prince Maurice Parker. Is Our Gospel the Gospel? Is available in Christian bookstores and online. Purchase it today.